Hi guys, welcome to Rappler's Let's Talk Food webinar series. So this is a first, and before I get into detail, I'll introduce myself. So I'm Steph Arnaldo. I am the lifestyle and food reporter for Rappler's lifestyle and entertainment section. And we decided to start this webinar series talking about food, like anything under the sun about our local food industry. So this is called Let's Talk Food. And um, we'll have more episodes in the future, but we'd like to start with the first episode talking about, of course, our local restaurants and how they've managed to cope, survive, and thrive amid the pandemic starting last March 2020. So, and of course, plans of moving forward this 2021. So for the first episode, I'm very excited to have two special guests. Um, you may know the first is the co-founder of the Moment Group. So you may be familiar with the restaurants. This includes Filipino restaurant Manam, Japanese restaurant Uma, um, Eight Cuts, and then they are also responsible for bringing in Din Tai Fung. They also have shawarma, and then yes. So this is Abanapa, our first guest.
Hi,
Would
Steph. Good
say hi.
afternoon or good day. It's very nice
Yeah,
to
thank you for
see
joining
you
us.
today. My pleasure.
Yes.
Thanks for having Paul and I.
And then our next guest is the chief sorbetero or the founder of Sea Valley Creamery, which is the company behind local ice cream brand Papadili's handcrafted ice cream. Thank you, Paul, for joining us also today.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. All right. As I mentioned, we wanted to provide, as we're coming into a new year, we wanted to provide a clear snapshot of the crazy year that was 2020. So undeniably, it was hard for a lot of industries, but of course, the local food and beverage industry was among the hardest hit. So, can we each recap what your personal experiences were when the lockdown hit on March? So, who would like to start? Abba, maybe you could share.
Wow, March seems so long ago
I
already.
know.
I mean, I think, I saw the other day on Instagram, I saw someone type I saw a poster that said March is 3 months away, but I'm still processing last March.
Same.
I think that was such a big month for everybody. And clearly the pandemic that hit us in 2020 was really superbly unexpected. And I think that was one of the most challenging things about this crisis is that it was an unexpected crisis. Um, and I think that the second most challenging thing about the crisis was the fact that, you know, um, I don't know about Paul, but at least with for all my years in F&B, which really has only been going on 9 years this year, um, we've never the F&B industry is very fortunate, especially in the Philippines, because it's not always normally directly impacted by a crisis because normally crises in the last decade or so have been economic in nature, and naman us the Filipinos, when we're happy we're gonna eat, when we're sad we're still gonna eat and spend and drink. So we've been protected by crises in general because of the nature of what we do, our product and our service, no. So this is really the first time that we've had a crisis which was a health crisis, and where it really impacted us, because what happened really in March was, and rightfully so, the government put the country on a lockdown because this was a health crisis that spread through people, no, through and what happened there was, it didn't allow people to converge. I think that is really a big part of what F&B, or the food service industry, is the restaurant industry, not the food packaged good industry, but the restaurant industry, because We don't just serve food. We actually create an experience, and you have to be converged
True.
around the table in order to enjoy that, no? Or you have to buy it at least. You have to buy the ice cream and talk to the person that's selling it to you. So I think closing down our entire shop network, which we did actually a few days before it was demanded by the government, was one of the hardest things we had to do. But we knew at the time that we needed to be a part of preventing the spread of this virus. So it was something that I think everybody, I mean, the entire team, my co-founders and employees are alike, were really committed to do. And that's why we closed actually a few days before the lockdown was implemented to help support that. No, of course, we didn't realize that it would be. I don't think anyone knew that it would last this long. So I think our viewpoints and our mindsets and our mentalities have really changed and evolved over the last 9, 10 months, no, since that fateful month of March.
And Paul,
Well,
for you, like
on our end, we welcome 2020 with so much excitement because it's supposed to be our fifth year. And March
Congratulations.
11, yeah, March 11 was
Wow.
our anniversary. Then March 15, we went on a
no,
lockdown. Di ba?
no.
Para, di ba, well,
Oh
and of course,
yes.
leading to March 15, of course, people already trying to put all the safety measures and all that. So,
Yeah.
not to mention, we're gonna hit the peak season for ice cream, which is summer. So,
Yeah.
again, I echo what Abba was saying that no one expected this, and no one have an experience working around this kind of crisis. So everything is new, and I think that was the main challenge. We don't know exactly what to really do primarily because it's an entirely new experience from everyone, and even government actually. They were grappling initially in how to really deal and respond, no? Primarily because everything is new. I was fortunate enough to work closely with some brands before that had experience working with SARS, no? But again, hitting home directly was different. And that's one of my realizations that it's really hard to just keep on going primarily because it's a health issue. And the least that you can actually do is cooperate and be part of the solution rather than counter things that might spread the virus more. So what we did was we basically just followed every single thing that the government was saying. We tried to secure our people first because we have some employees who are residing in a boarding house close by whatever branch they're assigned. So we said, better go home, because we don't know how this thing will pan out. So that's the first thing that we actually did. Try to really provide that opportunity for them to really get out of Manila because we thought it was a Manila-centric issue, but later on became nationwide na, no? And then the first problem I encountered was, oh my God, I've got so much inventory. Because I was ready for summer. I was ready for an anniversary. So, and that's when I started to really nail down stuff like, okay, what will I do? And I guess I'm part of that group that didn't have some good night's sleep initially because I just kept on thinking, what's next? And I was tuned into the news and all the policymakers on what's happening. So I think that's how I started the year. A bit stressed actually, which is odd because
Yes.
my product is a happy product. So food in general is a happy product, and here I am, just in the corner of my room thinking, what will happen. But yeah, I'm glad we're past that now. Somehow we've matured, uh, even if in terms of our points of view of what happened last year, we have a different, take now. I think that's what I can say.
Yeah, I think 'cause I think even the consumers, you obviously the owners panic and we panic because your food is our happy go-to and all of a sudden everything's closed, right? And like with we didn't know how to access you or if when we'd ever be able to eat at your restaurants again. And like I think that's what makes it different because as Abba said, the restaurant industry, you weren't really built for delivery, like aggressive
Yeah.
delivery prior, right? And with ice cream, you have to eat it right there. And it's something you go to after dinner as a family and like pick your ice cream. It's a very immersive experience, diba? And then even for moment groups, restaurants, it's mostly families. So I think obviously because consumer behavior changed drastically after March. And so like of course you noticed um, demand for delivery. So at what point after you recuperated or tried to gather your bearings, at what point did you choose to kind of pivot? Sorry, that's like the word of
I
2020,
know,
pivot.
right?
Yeah,
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 right. Overused,
Stuff,
but
right?
we
yeah,
all had to do it. So
yeah.
to maybe like think of something that you've never thought before to do with your business. Yeah. And what were your initial hesitations to do so? But what motivated you to pursue it?
I think what happened to us really was, I mean, let me start maybe by echoing also what Paul said about, like our product is really a product of happiness. And I really think that most people in F&B are pretty fun people because the crux of F&B and food is really it's really not about food. It's really about having people, making people happy over the course of a meal time or over the course of eating your
Yeah.
product. No? Because if it wasn't larger than that, then it would just be a commodity and you could just get it anywhere.
Correct.
No? So I
Mhm.
think that's a real big thing for us. And really attached to that is that concept of nourishing people. No? And I think that's a big part of what we at Moment try to do when we create brands and products and concept. It's really about trying to make people happy. But for the longest time, a big part of that formula was the atmosphere inside our restaurants. And so, we spent a lot of time designing how the restaurants are going to feel and how the food is going to feel inside it. So we were automatically just like one of our legs was cut off, right? And we had to really focus on the product, on the food. So I think that was very challenging in the beginning because you're right. Restaurants in general are not really built for delivery alone. It's really a minority of our business. Even when you look at QSR, the big fast food brands, you'll find that still over 50% of their revenue is still derived from people dining inside those
Dining in
restaurants. No,
there.
so and of course, even more for us who are in the casual space, no, and the non QSR space, it's over 70% of our revenue is derived from dining in. So delivery was a very small part of the business, no. So I think the first thing we did really was, first of all, we opened up the restaurants for delivery as soon as the government allowed. So that I think was maybe 10 to 14 days after the initial lockdown. And we did that really primarily for one reason, and that was to get our people working again.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the big, big, big reason.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we probably would have just kind of waited it out to assess, no, because we also had no idea at the time which shops would have sales and if we would even be breaking even, and I don't mean to talk about profit, but obviously this was there was no visibility to the end of this crisis. So obviously from a business standpoint, you're also trying to look at your runway and of course trying to protect your cash reserves, no, but we did that anyway. And I think I do want to call out our major lesser partners, because they were very supportive in that, in getting all of their malls open and making it something not it became a process that wasn't as challenging as it could have been. I think we're one of the countries around the world that if you talk to other F&B players in different countries, we probably have the nicest things to say about our lesser partners, because I think it was really a time where the private sector came together to help one another, and even inside F&B, where it became competition, and that's why we have a new industry association called Resto PH, where we have restaurants and brands that compete with each other, but we're all friends now and we all share information. I think that's the one great thing that happened, no. So yes, so we got into delivery and we became agnostic really to delivery channels. It was really making sure that our brands and our dishes, our food could find were as conveniently available to our audience as possible. So at that time, we were fortunate that we were already partnered with almost all of the delivery aggregator partners, and as each new player came into the delivery space, we also spoke to them, and where it made sense, we also made sure we were made available on those platforms because we know naman that Filipinos have different preferences for where they get their delivery. On top of that, um, we also realized at the time that even the delivery aggregators were not prepared for this sudden influx of demand, no? Because all of a sudden people were at home and working from home, and instead of going and eating out in a mega mall, they would order in. So they were also not that prepared at the time, to no one's fault. And we wanted to complement that demand. So we also created our own delivery platform called Mogo, and we created our own online ordering platform, our own website called momentfood.com, and we launched that maybe 1 to maybe 2 months after the initial March lockdown. And a partial reason we did that as well was to provide more of our people supplemental income. And so Mogo became a group of riders that were composed of some of our chefs, our dishwashers, our servers, and they started going out with their bikes and also delivering our food for them. And that I think also really helped them well. So I think those were some key things that we did. We expanded our distribution and our reach. A second thing that we did was we created new product. I think we realized at the time that um, some of our products were better suited to converging around the table, and it was a social event, our food, no? And we also realized that the need or the necessity of our consumers, our loyal customers at the time changed. First of all, you had to shelter in place, so you had to eat at home. Two, you had to be socially distant, so maybe the family that met up with the lola that went to Manam for Sunday lunch, they couldn't see each other, and now they're broken up into their own households, which only had maybe 2 or 3 people in those households. So we created new products and even new brands that catered to that new, I guess, whether temporary or permanent lifestyle, and catered to the new needs and the new wants. No, so we created a lot of food that was solo packaging and form and ready to eat. And lastly, we ventured into FMCG. The
Yeah.
supermarkets approached us to if we wanted to develop frozen versions of our restaurant dishes, and so we put together a menu for grocery shelves, well, actually for grocery freezers, and we also put together ready-to-heat items or meals for convenience stores, and now you'll find some of Moments dishes in SM supermarkets as well as in 7-Elevens around Luzon.
On my end, I think very similar to Abba's experience. And one thing though that really pushed us is Mother's Day. We knew that Mother's Day is such a big dining experience for everyone. So it's a big thing for the industry. And leading up to that one, there were a number of inquiries asking us to deliver from way beyond our comfort zone, so to speak, because ours is ice cream, and our worries it might melt right in the middle of summer. So and that actually pushed us to really experiment because the inquiries are just coming from all over the metro. Actually, not even Rizal and even Los Baños even. So that's when we realized there must be something that they really are in need of ice cream or something. But I think the bigger issue on our end then, because we were looking up at the likes of Moment Group or what are they doing now, or our big brothers and sisters in the industry. Well, our biggest concern there, are we an essential product? Because mine is just focused on one aspect of the whole food chain, which is dessert. Or so I was like asking, are we part of the essential list? If we go out and we show ourselves that we work in an ice cream company, will they allow us on the street to really move around? Until I tested that in a checkpoint, and the officer said go. So that gave us the courage actually
License, yeah.
to call
It's
back my troops, so
essential.
to speak. It's essential, to call back the employees. But I think similar to ABBA, the motivation is really to provide that income. Because though the government gave some ayuda in many forms, not everyone got. As I mentioned, some of my people are in a boarding house, but they're not registered in that locality, so they did not get anything. And you cannot just go day by day knowing that this person might go hungry soon. So we had to really call back the people, but we have to provide that safety net to ensure that they won't they won't get the virus, or there will be no issues whatsoever. But it was the Mother's Day actually. There's a tipping point that when we realized, let's get things going. And I think if I can extract from what Abba was also sharing, it's the speed of how we have to do things. And we have to move fast, very, very fast. Not like before when you do product development, it will take time to really, this time around, you need to do it very, very fast. Not because you want to be ahead of competition, but for one, there is a need to do it right away. Jumping into delivery, obviously, there is a demand, so you have to act fast. Buying bikes for people who can't access your central kitchen because they don't have motorbikes. They have to do that fast as well. Later on, I realized we bought the bikes very expensive, no? So, but again, it got us going. And I think a lot of the players in the industry had similar experience in terms of just trying and testing things in the speed of light, so to speak, just to get things going, and not just to save the industry or to save it one's business, but to really provide jobs and keep it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and like with you, since it's ice cream, you came out with the insulated bags, or has that been there before?
No,
It's new, right?
that was one of the, yeah, we had to come up with insulated bag. And I'm very grateful with a lot of our suppliers who really did it for us in so short a time as well. We and even our riders, a lot of people lost their jobs sa angkas. So we talked to the angkas drivers, can you do this for us? They said yes. Si Katuna, where our main branch is located, a lot of the tricycle drivers didn't have any passengers. So we said, can you remove your sidecar and deliver it for us?
So
And they
cool.
did it. Yeah, the Quezon City LGU actually provided for some tests, PCR tests, for free. So they had to go through it. The moment they're clear, they joined us. So then the other thing is the back end, no? As much as, because again, we're not built to do delivery. So our issue then is like we might overlook one order. So your backhand has to be in place. Obviously, you start with an Excel format and then later on upgrade to whatever open source system that's available. But again, it's really the speed of how you do things actually that push us to do things for moving forward.
Since March, no dine-ins were allowed. At what point did you open up for dine-in? And then what were your initial, of course, there were hesitations to do so, but like, I guess my question is, when did you kind of feel things starting to normalize per se? Like I mean, things aren't normal completely yet, but in terms of
Not at all.
your business, yeah, behavior, like kind of getting back to the groove.
There's a couple of questions in there. I think the first one was about when did we resume dine-in. So we followed strictly to the letter all government policies and regulations on that, no, and we also didn't drag our feet, no. So the moment dine-in was announced, we opened, and and I don't want to sound callous by saying we didn't think about it at all. I mean, obviously there's hesitation, but a number of things why we opened right away. We were preparing for that already from March. In fact, prior to March and Feb, we had already drafted safety protocols for Moment, both for the headquarters and also for each of the shops, right? But I think the big reason why we opened right away is because and maybe it's unknown to a number of people, but actually the F&B industry is really one of the safest industries out there when it comes to health, because we've had to follow food safety and sanitation procedures since the beginning of time. In fact, there's a joke now. It's funny. It's hospitals nga and F&B that has to follow these procedures so well. So in a way, it may seem ironic, but it is quite safe. And I think maybe people don't know, but actually, if you take a look at the F&B industry and you take a look at the employee base, and you take a look at ratios of percentages of people that maybe contracted the disease versus the larger population, we're actually way below
Agree.
that, no? And our people, employees in F&B, have to face the public every day, no? Um, and I think it's because we've have such strong food safety and sanitation protocols in place, not just this moment, but as the industry in general. There's no choice. You have to have had that in order to be a restaurant or a player that survives. Um, it wasn't as challenging to tighten that and make that, just strengthen that really, and make sure that communication reached the customer, no? um so yes, the moment dine-in was allowed, we opened all of our restaurants, in fact, except for our bar, because nightlife is still
Yes.
not allowed, rightfully so. Which is really unfortunate for the team there. But beyond that, all the restaurants are open. When did things start to normalize? I think, it's really been a gradual thing. It's very psychological. There's nothing you can really do. In fact, the first thing we did in March, and we've kind of stayed true to that, was we really changed our marketing tone. We didn't actively market. And today we still don't actively market to tell you, hey, come out and dine in with us. No, we
Yeah.
do talk about the products we have and the fact that we can meet you at your doorstep instead of you walk into our doors. But we're very I guess, sensitive to the way we communicate. But I think over the months, the Filipino has some learned about the virus, and learn how to protect themselves from it, and are also, human beings really just want, you want to converge, and you want to connect with one another. So we've slowly seen a big trickle back into dine in, that happened in the Burr months, no?
Yeah.
And it still continues on today. And that's very nice for us to see, and really really for the staff more than anything. They're really happy to see their regular guests come back as well. I think, to close out on that, lessons learned there are, um, what happened in 2020 was we were forced to learn a new skill. We were forced to exercise a new muscle, which is how to how to nourish people outside of the four walls of a restaurant. And we really learned how to create products that worked well for delivery or for takeaway, or be really basically for off-premise consumption. Um, and what's great that I'm noticing now, at least for us at the moment, is as dine-in comes back slowly but surely, our off-premise and delivery sales have not slowed down.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, if there's any silver lining we're gonna try and take from 2020, is that maybe we discovered also a new way to feed and nourish people, and that complements our existing way. And maybe we would have never discovered that or had the time to learn how to do that, or get through that learning curve if it wasn't for 2020. So, trying to find a silver lining
Yeah.
Yeah.
of what
I
we've
agree.
discovered. I don't know about you, Paul.
Yeah, actually, on my end, we really had to follow everything. But my only beef about IATF is that some were quite, if I may strongly use the word, baseless. Because I was monitoring other countries, and I don't know where the 30% dine in as a baseline figure. You can only allow X percentage of dining came about. Because
Yeah,
in Singapore, as long as you're one family and you've been staying in that same household
yeah,
anyway, you can dine and have the whole
yeah,
table, di ba? Uh, and the reason I'm reacting is because
yeah,
my shops are quite small. To a
yeah,
point, I have one shop. If I do the math, I can only allow one
yeah.
person at a time. So that's not
Oh, yeah,
feasible, di ba?
yeah,
So parang I was questioning that initially. Parang who thought of this, and what's the basis for this thing? And really, but then again, who am I at the same time? Because, di ba? So I just have to comply. But yeah, we saw the pick up towards the Burmans, and I think people were just like, I want to go out, you know. I want to feel this spirit, whatever Christmas or the bear month. So we saw an uptake on dine in. But I think one thing that we also um the funny thing that actually happened as well is that this is the time that we're very proud to show off we're cleaning our outlets. You know what I mean? Because it's a proof point that before, di ba, you usually just clean up after the peak hour or something. You know, now it's really it's a proof point that you're actually maintaining or fulfilling your obligation as far as safety protocols are concerned. So we employed a safety officer or health officer, pretty much monitoring just that, ensuring that the chairs are wiped and sanitized after and that. So for the first time, we have someone proudly, announcing himself as a health, a cleaner, because his role is very important all of a sudden. And that role was really overlooked before. But yes, the food service has always been clean, primarily because of the strict protocols. We're the only ones that are required food safety certificates at the start of the year, and things like that. So that's the reason why I was questioning some of the policies initially, but that's 2020, so somehow we survived. So
Nothing surprising in 2020. I remember we have one brand that is also over the counter, which is called Mo Cookies. And I think one of the policies early on that changed was how many people there could be in a certain square meter of space. And we were like, well, it's only 14 square meters and it's only two people, but that's already the cashier and the server. So no one can come in this.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, it's I think it took everyone by surprise, and so I think a lot of policies came out, really with the goal of trying to protect, and then you had to learn along the way, So to that point, Paul, I really think that the people in F&B are amazing survivors,
Yeah.
and we came out and we're still alive in 2020. So kudos really to everyone in F&B.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask actually, coming from that point, how do you guys continue to adjust to government policies, protocols, or lack thereof? Like, what support would you need from government institutions, private, even individuals moving forward to sustain yourselves?
I think, what's interesting about what happened during the crisis is that a lot of communication lines opened up that weren't open before. Or, I mean, like for instance, I had mentioned that, in our industry is small, but we don't all know each other, no? And I think that at the end of 2020, I think we all know each other. We have all each other's numbers, no? So I think that's one thing, and that goes also for the government, no? In all objectivity and in all fairness, the government has been has kept very open lines of communication, and in fact, I've there was a time in 2020 where half of my Zoom meetings were with the government, no? They were either with IATF or the or Congress, because they were inviting the private sector to come and dialogue with them, no? And ask and really to share ideas, share solutions, and also share pain points. And I for one is very appreciative of that, no? That they asked us our opinion. And I think there are some policies and protocols that were set in place later on, or were changed, or that were evolved, and that were a result of that dialogue. So I think it's important to keep that dialogue going. And in fact, I think it's important that the F&B industry comes together as one, because for the first time in our history, our industry is now heavily impacted by government regulations and policies, and it never has been in the past. Other industries, perhaps like telecom and mining, are obviously regulated by government in a big way, but and so they understand the processes of that. But F&B really and consumer never really has been, no. So this is really the first time. We have really learned how to grapple with that. I think we're the only industry wherein every phase of the lockdown, our operations changes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're the only industry where we have to watch the lockdown.
Yeah.
You change age restrictions, everything changes. You go from
Curfew.
MECQ back to MECQ, our whole operations changes.
True.
And it's very costly and very challenging. And it requires us to really be able to turn on the dime. And I think it's made all of us that much stronger, that much more powerful. Now we can shift from one phase to another and change our operations within 5 days.
Yeah.
That was something that was almost impossible to imagine. Back in the day, you're driving a ship and all of a sudden has to turn left or right in a matter of days. So I think we've learned to be agile and we've learned to be
Super.
nimble.
Super.
Um,
Super.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think,
Multitasking
yeah, yeah,
is 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 a short of the it's not enough to describe what we did.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think our teams also have had to learn how to not just multitask, but to really be
Mm.
entrepreneurs. I mean, you're not just doing marketing anymore. I mean, you're really running also a business, right? You're knowing the top and the bottom line, what will work, what will not. I think I answered more than the question, but I definitely
Yeah.
think that all sectors of society really have to come together. And I guess to the consuming public, we do want to say thank you because we see
Yeah.
the support. Like Moment Group has a loyalty program, and on our online delivery platform, over 50% of our revenue comes from Moment cardholders, no, loyalty cardholders. So we really thank everybody for supporting the F&B industry throughout this time.
So I think what happened to us is we found our voice as an industry, or even you as a player. We were not hesitant to basically share our thoughts. I have a Viber group with some of the legislators and even the LGUs, and whatever concerns we've got, we put it across, and they respond. Again, of course, the response is limited to whatever is allowed, and I think one of our major concerns is policies do change every 2 weeks. It's a 2 week cycle, so you can really plan way ahead. But I think um, that gave us the courage to really share whatever we have as a learning or some of the blocks or challenges, and in doing that, actually, it made us stronger. No, I think a lot of times we just basically just accept things, but as an industry, all of a sudden. Well, we're now organized somehow, with Resto PH, and we've never seen something like that before, and which I think is a very good thing that happened in 2020. And I hope it continues, because I think um, we can never seem to really pin down what this new normal is really. It keeps on changing. So I think it needs the support of everyone. And I echo Abba's, gratefulness to the consumers. Really, but I think two to tango anyway. As much as we try to pivot or evolve as fast as we can. If they didn't really support us, then we may not be speaking here this afternoon, right? So it's really because of that as well that kept us going.
I agree. And how do you or plan to continue to balance the need to continue operations, provide for your staff, call people to dine in, but also realizing that the virus is still quite rampant, like it's a delicate,
Welcome to
Yeah,
our
yeah,
world.
yeah.
No one's ever asked us that. It is really truly one of the hardest things you can do because I think maybe for other industries you can push your services because it's supporting, let's say, deliver. So support, right? Deliver curbs the spread of the virus. So it's very easy to like shout out loud, market it and everything. Tech products, such and such, health and wellness products, yoga gear, right? Everything is there's nothing sinful about it. There's nothing that, promoting it won't help, will not encourage the spread of the virus. And I think with F&B and with restaurants, I mean, that isn't necessarily the case from a perception standpoint, no? It's extremely challenging. How do we balance it? And this may sound stupid, but I mean, like you really have to remain human.
Yeah.
I mean, like us, like I lead marketing and development at Moment, and um, you really have to and this is always how we've been actually at Moment, but we really look at our brands as people, and we try to have relationships with our audience, and so we communicate with them like people, and so we listen very closely to the sentiments and the moods of our audience, the people dining in and also online. And I think to that point, I don't like using the word pivot. I really just rather use the word relevant because I mean you can't really change who you are or what you do, right? But you can you can ensure that your brand is relevant by creating products that are fit for your brand, that meet the needs of your audience, no, at the time where they're in now. And so I think that's how we try to balance it. We try to create products which is really how to nourish and feed and make people happy. And we try to do that for them in the spaces where they feel safe. So for some of them, that's dining in still. Therefore, we have very stringent safety protocols for dine in, and we make sure that's known. And for others, it's at home or it's at home and sheltering in place. And so we've created products for them that they can enjoy at home, that they can crave for at home. And I think we will never stop in that creation and development. And we did develop a lot last year because that's also the way to keep our team nourished and fed. If we are not open or if our kitchens are not firing at as full cylinder as possible, if we're not creating new product, then um the chefs wouldn't have anything to cook. Our R&D team, our marketing team wouldn't have anything to talk about. We wouldn't be able to employ people. So you also have to know that the first people you're trying to save and protect is your team and your employee base. No? And you're trying to do it with products that are honest and that are sensitive to the climate that is today.
I think there's no easy answer to your question, Steph. But because you
I
cannot
know.
force it. Because you cannot
Yeah.
force it. But I think what we're offering are basically choices. No? If you want to dine in, we make sure that it's a safe place for you to dine in. If you want to deliver, then you get the product, on the best quality. So I think on both sides, as opposed before, you just focus on the experience in terms of your outlet. This time around, you need to have to look at all the possible touch points that your guests would enjoy your product. So, and that at the end of the day, it's their choice on where to go, take it away or dine in. But every step of the way, I think you need to be true to who you are as a brand, and conforming to all the safety protocols. And I think that's the best way to survive all these things. Primarily because there's no easy way out. The virus is still here. There's like permutation again, and it seems to be evolving each time. So you just have to keep on pushing forward by providing choices to people.
You guys have managed to kind of adopt all these learnings, and you guys are still here, and it's a new year. And despite that, both of you also managed to create new brands, right? So for the Moment Group, Papa Pansitan was just last launched in December. So this is a
Christmas.
delivery only. Yes, delivery only pancit centric menu, inspired by the Manam Kitchen. And then Paul created Calle Sorbetes, which is like an ode to the Filipino dirty ice cream, but also delivery friendly. So
Yeah.
I just want to ask, like, it's amazing how you guys managed to still do that despite all of that. So when did you decide to pursue? How? Why?
Pursue creating new brands.
The new concept, the that your new project, yeah, brand.
I think it was maybe April. I think maybe we took March to just kind of chill out and kind of just like figure. I think March for us was really about looking inward to the team and to the organization, and really there was a lot that needed to be handled internally. I mean the team, the employee base, the structure. There was a lot of administrative work. How are you going to go to the office where you're not going to go to the office? That consumed us for maybe 4 weeks, right? Finalizing all those policies. And now we're also adept at working from home. I know a lot of companies are trying to lessen their corporate footprint actually now. I think everyone's realized that you can actually be productive
It can be
from
done.
so
Yeah.
far away, right? So it was really April, May when we begin to look a little bit more outward, and say, oh, I want to now kind of take a look at our customers, our audience, our patrons, and see how are they feeling, what their sentiments are like now. Has their mood changed? More importantly, has their habit changed? um their mindsets changed. Obviously their needs, their desires, their wants have changed. Even what they wanted to eat had changed. You know, in the beginning it was everyone was a little bit bored, not so worried. So it was more like, I want to try everything new and exciting. I'm going to try every home kitchen out there. I want to try crazy things like, I don't know, I have no idea, like ube cheese pandesals. Like, I mean, all of these new products were coming out. People wanted to be titillated. They were so bored at home. There's nothing you couldn't
Yeah.
go out, right? And then, so there was that phase. And then there became the phase of, oh my God, this is lasting really long. I need to be comforted. I need things that are familiar. I need to know I can trust the quality of the product. So there was this roller coaster evolution of the consumer mindset. And coming into April, May onwards, we started to track that very closely again, which is something that, you know, we feel is always really important to do, COVID or not COVID. And that was around the time we said that we thought that it was important to create product extensions to each of the brands, because most of our brands are sharing brands. You know, I mean, you share the food in the middle, which is also not allowed, which also, you know, frowned upon. And also, we realized it was time to create product that was a real fit and created specifically for dining at home and for sheltering in place. No, that was really the time we did it. And just to answer your question, it is because we look out to the customer to see how they're feeling and where they're at, and that's how we get inspired, or where we derive the ideas for what may be wanted and needed in the market. And that's always how we've created at the moment. So that's the same thing that we did in the summer of 2020.
On my end, Calles Urbetas was born out around, well, the idea actually started when a number of dairy farmers reached out to us and offered their milk because they've got oversupply of milk. But then I can't use that under Papa Didis because we're using Carabao's milk for Papa Didis. So, but I think there was even, I think it came out in the news that in Palawan, dairy farmers were throwing out their cow's milk because they cannot ship it to Manila, or, you know, logistically, it was really quite expensive with all the shutdowns. So that actually gave me an idea of what if I'll start working with a cow's milk as a product. And then coupled by the fact that, of course, you know, we stopped hearing the Mamang Sorbetero's bell. So I put just one and one together and came up with Calle Sorbetes as a tribute to the Mamang Sorbetero in the street. I opted to offer it on delivery primarily because we already have now that system in place, and I think that's a financial part coming into play. That given that that infrastructure is in place, might as well maximize it so that you get your ROI as well. So all just like came into one full concept around end of September, I think, and I just waited it out for the new year to bring it out because I took the whole bare months to test the products. So, yeah. So, but it's really born out of that. Farmers reaching out to us saying, "Can you use cow's milk?" Yeah, so
that's nice. Okay, great. So I guess that's something your customers are gonna look forward to this coming year. And are there any future plans that your patrons can expect from you guys? Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah.
Or secret,
Yes.
you know?
No, yes. I mean, I think, you know, we really love to create things at the moment. We're always doing that, and um, I'm happy that we're able to still create, even though it is really a bleak time for many. Yes, there are new things coming. We have a new deliver to your doorstep brand that we're launching next month. It will be chicken in nature.
Yay.
Yeah, yeah, I know chicken is my favorite protein. We're also actually launching a new Asian brand in one of our current spaces for dine-in actually. So it'll be our first dine-in brand again that we're launching this year. We just feel that it's important to support that. I mean there are a lot of people dining out, and we want to continue to entice them safely. So we have a dine-in Asian brand that we're launching before the summer. And then look out for something spinning off from Mo Cookies as well in the summer.
Exciting.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Yay, okay.
I'm always excited about the different launches of Moment. No? So
Thank
yeah, yeah. The
you.
pansitan saved my day. Well, last
Really?
year.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
So
thank
It was
God.
good.
my wife wasn't available and said, I don't want to cook. And then a friend of
Oh,
mine said, I'll order for you.
okay.
That was again, and it arrived. And so like,
I hope it was all right.
it was good. It was good. It was good. I don't know if Abba knows. I have 8 kids, so it was gone
You have
in a
eight
second.
kids. Oh my God.
So it's like
Sulit.
catering every
Oh
day.
my gosh. Okay,
Okay.
well, that would really work for you because
Yeah.
you have those really
The
big size,
barangay, yeah.
the
Yeah,
barangay
yeah.
size.
That's a big thing. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
to answer your question, Steph, I think for us it's really focused on offering new flavors. I think that's
Mm.
we're excited doing that. There's a lot
For
of
both Papa Didis and
for
Kalya.
both, yeah, but
Yeah.
really more for Papa Didi. We're excited about Valentine's Day. Last year we had a very good run with the stages of relationship last year
Yes, I
for
remember.
yeah. So and this year we're looking forward to releasing new flavors for Valentine's Day. And again, we already considered, either you consume that in store or in your respective houses. We already have some sort of an offering for that one. So we're really looking forward to that. And down the road, we're opening new outlets as well. So of course, this was supposed to open last year, but we moved it to 2021. So hopefully two for the year. So that's something we look
Can
forward to.
you, is it more south? Because a lot of people are asking for south
Yeah,
locations.
one south and one. Well, we our banners are up, so it's in Estancia in for Pasig. So the other
Ah,
one.
yes.
Mm,
Ah.
yeah.
Okay. So I guess
Mhm.
parang we can say na for the food industry, like it's innovation has always been and continues to be key. So as you said, like all these home bakeries made ube cheese pandesal and all these like crazy concoctions that hit it off naman with a large audience. So how do you, aside from that, like how do you see the local food industry thriving this coming year? Like what are your personal predictions for the F&B industry? And maybe advice also as well.
You know, because last year um, was so impacted our industry so negatively. Um, and because I'm aware of how challenging it was to get through last year and to survive and to reinvent yourself and to have courage and faith and bravery and all of that. And because I got to know so many people in our industry, I am more than cautiously optimistic about 2021 for our local food industry, just because um, I have the knowledge of, I have the pleasure of knowing the people behind all of these food brands today. And it's so great to meet you today, Paul. They are
Yeah.
amazing people.
Mhm.
Don't only want to make people happy, but are also super smart and intelligent. And I realize now real survivors. So I think I can say that I think that the current entrepreneurs inside F&B, when they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, are exceptionally strong coming into 2021 if they've survived. And I think there are, since we've gone through such a hard time, there's nothing that can really phase us anymore. And I think everyone is buoyed with hope to create anew and to develop and to push forward. I mean, my other thread of Resto Page, I can see people asking for spaces that they can rent for pop-ups to try new concepts, and that's super exciting, and it almost makes me teary-eyed to see that because the fight is there. So I think that I think there's a lot that we can look forward to from the local F&B industry coming to 2021. A lot of great new ideas, exciting things that you can look forward to, because we didn't get to show them all last year. But I will say that I think people are, it's such a disciplined group of people. So we will obviously only run as fast as regulations will allow us. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that we can't do right now because, of course, dining is very hindered. So I think all the innovation will come in the delivery off-premise space. And I think that that's where we should look, at least for the first half of the year, at least until the vaccinations come. But I also think that the industry is wanting to also fix that last mile to make it better.
better.
I mean, it's been very challenging. Obviously, delivery is also very challenging for us, and I think a lot of people in the industry want to make that last mile better and give the service of their brand. So, apart from Moment, I think a lot of people also want to deliver themselves and also deliver cheaper to the customer in a way that's more cost effective. That shows also hospitality. So I think you'll see something interesting also in the last mile space from the F&B industry, not just from the people that are in logistics. So that would be very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think similarly, I'm quite optimistic about 2021. Well, we've been to the deepest of 2020, so I would imagine there's no other way but up now. But the reason being, I think everyone needs to eat somehow, and I think that's the strength of this industry. It's very essential, if I may use again the word, that people we need to eat, and regardless of what price point. And I think that's a challenge now to the key players. Where do you want to play? Given the buying power of the Filipinos now. And I think the other thing is as well that you need to really go back to your product. I think a lot of the players who to the test of 2020 is because they have good products. And I think you need to go back to that one and make sure that your product can actually withstand whatever stress that's available out there or that's challenging your product. And then subsequently, I think you need to redefine what that experience is now. Given that the dining experience is limited, and a lot of us, like in my case, you need to taste all the flavors before you choose which flavor you're gonna buy. That is gone, totally gone. So they have to really treat now, or they now have to really listen to the sorbetero, whatever recommendations, and they have to believe that sorbetero, right? So I think that whole experience will have to evolve, or you have the key players who have to define what that whole thing is. And then the other thing is, I think we need to really hire better people for the industry as well. Actually, from my experience, I now have to have people who are really very adept to technology because they have to maneuver so many things. There is an app for Grab, app for Food Panda, then there's an online ordering, and things like that. So unfortunately, some of my people in the past, because we operate like a social enterprise, we get from urban communities. Unfortunately, they're not exposed to this. So that's a big learning point for us that the people we will hire for in the coming months, given that we're opening some branches, they need this kind of baseline skill sets as well, on top of really having that appreciation for the food industry is.
I guess we gave a pretty extensive recap of last year and what people can look forward to from our local F&B industry this year. Thank you to our two special guests for joining us today. Paul Perez, owner of Papa Didi's and Abanapa, co-founder of the Moment Group. So again, this is Steph Ronaldo, lifestyle and food reporter from Rappler's Lifestyle and Entertainment section. Thank you for watching Let's Talk Food, and we'll see you for the next episode.